Do you enjoy eating a great tasting Sumbousik and you thought you'd like to learn how to make it yourself, but you've never found the time thinking that it's too difficult? Then come along with me and I'll show you how easy it really is, making that one day a reality today. Let's go. Hey guys, Musa here from Quantum Home Improvements and Solutions. Welcome back. And if this is your first time to our channel, it's great having you join us. And so today I'm making the long-awaited, long-anticipated Sumbousik, which is a singular, or Sumbousik, which is the plural. And so many people have been asking me to make it for over 3 years since I've been YouTubing. Now, so this is my signature dish, and I got this recipe from my mother, who got it from her mother, my grandmother, and she was so good at it. So a lot of people shy away from making Sumbousik because it's a little technical and it appears to be hard, but in actual fact it's not. And I'm going to show you how easy it is today. So all you're going to need is some plain flour, some beef mince, onions, pine nuts, 7 spices, salt, a bit extra pepper, some sugar, and some vegetable oil or any other type of oil. So I fell in love with this dish when I was a young boy, when my grandmother would make it for all those special occasions, and eventually my mother taught me how to make it. So there's many different ways of making Sumbousik, and I'm going to show you the way my mother did. And there's no wrong way as long as you stick to the main ingredients. Okay, so now I'll get into it and I'll show you how to make it. Okay, I'm dressed for the occasion. Now I'm going to make the dough first. Now I'm going to use plain flour, as I said before, and it is 1 kilo. So it's a 1 kilo bag. I'll just place it into the bowl. Now with this dough, it's not supposed to rise. So there are people that do actually use self-raising flour, but that tastes a little bit different to me. It's a bit more doughy. I like to make this very thin, so hence why I don't want it to rise. Okay, so now I'm going to get the oil ready. We just need 1 cup. I'll fill that up. There we go. It's almost to the brim. Put that on the side. Okay, now before we put the oil in, I'm going to put the sugar. Now the sugar is 1 to 2 tablespoons. And so I'll put that in. This is actually 2 tablespoons. Now we do need half a teaspoon of salt. Now this is just a table salt. You can use sea salt. Now, some people do prefer more salt, but I find this is around about enough. All right, and so now I'll mix that in. Just make sure all the sugar is spread. Okay, so now I'm going to put in the 1 cup of oil, just down the center. Beautiful. So now what I'm going to do is allow the flour to soak in completely. Okay, so now there's a lot of big chunks of oil in there, and I'm going to break that down just by putting the flour together in my hands and just giving them a bit of a squeeze, just a soft squeeze, and it breaks it down and it spreads all the flour. Now you've got to do this for a little while. Blend it in really, really well. So you can see there how fine that is. That's really, really fine. You can see how it's sort of sticking together and breaking. Okay, so the next ingredient is going to be warm water. And you're going to need roughly about 1.5 cups or a little more. It depends on actually the flour and how moist it is. All right, so I'll pour that in. I've got 2 cups here. Okay, so that's 1.5 cups. And now I'm just going to mix that in. Now you can see already it's not enough. It's close, but not enough. Yep, so I'm just going to put another 1/4 cup. Now you don't want to put too much. You don't want it to be too soft. It's a very fine line. And you'll see later what I mean when we roll it out. So that's roughly about 1 3/4 cup. So almost 2 cups. So the most technical part for me when I'm making Sumbousik is this, the dough. It's got to be spot on. So you need to knead this for a fair while, for at least a couple of minutes, to allow the water and the oil to seep in completely. So I do have Lebanese heritage. In actual fact, I was born in Lebanon, but my mother and father left Australia when my mother was 6 months pregnant. And so I was born 3 months after. And I was born in 1967, and in that year, there was a 6-day war between Israel and Egypt, and the Middle East looked very volatile. So my parents ended up coming back to Australia. But this does not mean that I'm actually a Parramatta supporter. In actual fact, I've been supporting Manly since I was 7 years old, which is now 50 years. Okay, this is looking fantastic. I'm very happy with that. It was just the right mix. So if it's too moist, I'd have to put some more flour in that, but you can hear how it's sticking to my glove. And this is how it looks like when you break it. There you go. That's how it looks like. Okay, so I'll just put it back in the bowl. I'll cover them up and let them sit for 2 hours. And so while I'm waiting, I'm gonna make the filling. Okay, so now I'm just gonna cut a large onion. If you don't have a large onion, you can use 2 smaller ones. We'll just chop that in half and then slice it. Now, if you're like me and you really tear up when you have onions, which most people do, what you can do, in actual fact, is put it under water, which takes all those vapors out of the air, which I'm gonna do now, because this is pretty strong. So all I do is just wash it under water like that. So immediately when you do that, all the mist and vapors are gone, and it makes it a lot easier. Okay, so the onions are ready. And in preparation, I've put in half a cup of pine nuts. Now you can use different type of pine nuts. There's really expensive ones, really cheap ones. This is mid-range, and I prefer to use those. They're not too small, not too big, and not too expensive. Pine nuts are very, very expensive. Okay, and so now with the mince, this is not the finest mince, and it's not the fattest mince. So you do need a little bit of fat to cook this. It does taste better, but we only need 1 kilo. This is actually 1.9, so I'm gonna separate that now. Wow, how was that? Almost got it right. I'll just put it here for now. Just got to take a little bit more out and we're done. That's it, that's 1 kilo. Okay, now I'll take this to the stove and cook it up. Okay, so just put a touch of oil in there, not too much. Okay, that's warming up. I'll just put the pine nuts in. Now you can put a lot more pine nuts in there if you like. But some people, I find that pine nuts are overwhelming if you put too much. And as I said, they're very expensive, so it becomes a very expensive dish as well. Even though it's not hot yet, I am actually starting to stir them around because it doesn't take long before they cook. They cook really, really quick. You've got to be careful not to burn them. So you can see me frantically moving these around. If you don't, they will just burn some spots and other spots will just be white. That's it. Now there's a fine line when you start taking this out, because if you leave it too long, as I said, it still keeps cooking. The oil will just keep burning it. This is getting very close to that time, very close. All right, now I'm gonna take these out. You can see the color of that. That's the color I'm gonna leave it at. So there are still some white ones in there. They will continue to cook. So just drain them out, don't let the oil sit in there. Okay, we start again. Now there is a little bit of water in that. I did give it a quick wash out. Okay, so now I'm just gonna put a little bit of oil, less than last time. And what I'm gonna do is straight away put the onions in. There we go. Now once again, I will stir them around continuously so they're cooked evenly. Okay, so now I'm gonna put in the mincemeat and I'm gonna crush them down straight away. I'm not gonna let them cook as a chunk, but make it very, very fine. So this is the technique I use that works very effectively. And I just keep mashing it so there's no big chunks anywhere. There we go. That's very fine now. I'll just let that cook a little. That's looking beautiful. Still a little bit pink, but it's looking really good. Okay, so I know it's almost ready when I hit the potato masher and everything comes off. That's beautiful. All right, I'll just take that off heat just for a minute. Now, I'm gonna add half a teaspoon of salt. Now, once again, you can put a little bit more, but just be careful, you don't want it to be too salty. Then, I'm gonna place in only 1 tablespoon of Lebanese 7 spices. Then I'm gonna put some extra black pepper. We love black pepper, you can tell. Now the 7 spices does have black pepper in it, but I'm gonna put more. And I'm gonna put some white pepper as well. Done, not so much white pepper. And I'm gonna put the pine nuts back. There we go. That smells incredible. And look at that. The pine nuts came out just in time. You can see some dark ones in there. You try not to make them too dark. But that is looking spot on. I just got to mix that around properly. It is cooked now to the level we need to cook it. You can see that the onions are caramelized. I'll let that cool down now while the dough sits. So it's just over 2 hours and the dough has now settled and it's looking good. And you can see these little white spots around. That is actually the sugar. So I know that it's pretty close to ready. I'll put that out of the way and I'll grab the meat. I did keep the meat in the fridge to cool down faster and I put it on a cork board. It is now cooled down and ready to go. Just give that a quick stir. Beautiful, look at that. That smells beautiful. What do you think, Marion?
Yeah, it smells good.
So I've got Marion with me to give me a hand. She's now become the Sumbousik queen and she's very good at actually finishing it off for me and you'll see what I mean in a minute. Okay, so I'm just thinning it out and now I'll roll it. So what I'm trying to do is achieve a very thin layer of dough and I'm not very good with gluten, so I try to not eat too much. This is looking really good. You can actually see some high and low spots by the color. So you can see just here is a little bit more creamier than just this area here. So I've just got to balance it out and we're ready to go. All right, that's it. We're ready. Now, the easy stage. Just grab a cup, something that size that you think would be appropriate to what you like to eat. And basically just go to the outer edge, put pressure down, just turn the cup a little bit to break it or to cut it and to go around. So generally speaking, I only use the dough once. So once I roll it out and cut these, that's it. I don't reuse the dough. Okay, that's the last one. And we have 39 cutouts. That's fantastic. Marion, if you could just help me take all the dough off. So we just take all the outer dough. Okay, this is all we've got left, just a little bit of dough. Now the reason you can't use it twice, because now it's become very springy. So if I was to let that sit for a while and roll it out, it will just come back very quickly. It won't actually hold as these ones do. So I'm just gonna give this to the chickens. Okay, so now taking them off is a little tricky. So I just pinch the edges and just slowly take them off. Now I've got here a little bit bigger than a normal teaspoon, just a little bit bigger. And I just fill it in. I make sure I've got some pine nuts in there because sometimes you might not get pine nuts. I just fold it over and then just touch the edges. Now, I'm going to pass this to Marion to finish it off for me. She's going to squeeze it a bit more. Then she's going to let it settle for a bit. I'm going to accumulate about maybe 10 of them. Now, the reason I do that is because I found if you let them sit for a while, the oil will actually close the dough together. It actually locks it in. So once again, I just spoon that in and just close that off, trying to make a really nice half circle if we can. So presentation is quite important, I think. Now, sometimes you can get the filling, the meat and the onions just a little bit too high. Just push them in and just close them off. So depending on how thick you roll this and also the cut of the cup or whatever you're using to cut the dough, it depends on the ratio of how much meat you're going to use to the dough. Now this is usually pretty close. Okay, so this is number 10. I'll get Marion to close that off again. And so what she's going to do, once she's finished closing that one off, she's going to go back to the beginning and just close the first one off. And then she's going to use a fork and she's going to fork the edges to seal it 100%. Okay, so Marion's done the last one. I've got an extra 3 here. So what I'm going to do now is pass her a tray that has wax paper on it. Now, you can either use wax paper or glad wrap, cling wrap. So I'm going to get Marion now to show you how she forks them and also she's going to put them on the tray. And while she's doing that, I'm going to do some more. So it's probably hard to see that on camera. Marian's just turning it around so you can see what she's doing. There we go. And so she'll do both sides just to lock that in. So what happens when you do cook these, if they have not been sealed properly, they will come apart as they're being fried. And also take note when Marian puts it on the tray that none of them touch each other. If they do touch each other, when you take them out of the freezer and you take them off the tray, and if they're touching, they will break. And so it breaks the dough. And again, another chance for the filling to come out. So now I've got some great news. You might remember, some of you, that I made a video how to make namura, which is a really complicated dish to get right. Not to make, but to get right. And we had taste testers come, which are Riad and Berthe. Now, so they're coming back to be taste testers for the Sumbousik, but Berthe's not going to be tasting, but Riad and his mother-in-law. And she's fresh from Lebanon. She's visiting Australia right now. So it's going to be very interesting. Okay, this is the last one I'm putting together. Marian's going really well there. And so you can see the quantity. There's hardly any left in here. So the ratio was almost perfect. So instead of throwing it out, what I'm doing here is just putting the remainder in this little container, and I will freeze it. And the next time we make the Sumbousik, we'll use it as well. Okay, Marian is now finished. And I've cleaned the bench, which is fantastic. I'll just let that dry. So Marian, thank you very much. Give me a hug. That was beautiful. Thank you very much. Mwah, you were great.
You're welcome.
All right, so now what I'm going to do is fry up a couple and just see how they turned out. Okay, they're starting to go a goldy colour, just starting to on the edges. I can see that. And so between then and the time they've got to come out is a very short period, just like the pine nuts. Okay, these are done. I'll just take them off, turn the stove off, and just let the oil drain. Once again, these turned out beautiful. I'll give it a taste. They're delicious. So you can cook these straight away, as we've done here, but what we normally do is put them in the freezer. So we cling wrap them, put them in the freezer, and use them only as we need them. And so Riad won't be coming for a couple of days, so we're going to enjoy eating these ourselves, and I'll cook up another batch. Come in, guys.
Everywhere. Hi, Musa. Thank you. I knew it.
How are you? Good to see you. Hey guys, thank you very much for coming. I've been wanting to make this video for a long time, and thanks for your mum, for Jamal, and for Aya. Thank you very much for coming, guys.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for having us.
Now, I just want to say something to your mum. Your mum is fresh from Lebanon. أنا ما فيني أحكي لبناني منيح. So Riad راح يساعدنا in bed. Is that okay?
إيه لا بس عم تحكي منيح.
Okay, not fantastic. Thank you. You know what? This is my signature dish. I've been making this Sumbousik for around 30 years. My grandmother used to make it. I loved it. My mother made it slightly different to her, but it still tastes pretty good. I'm keen to see you guys try it. And so there's many different ways of making it. So I make it the way they did, and I've tasted different ones. I don't really like Sumbousik that's really thick with the dough. I like a thinner dough. So this is specifically very thin, and I do fry them in vegetable oil. All right. Here we go. Ooh. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Musa.
You're welcome. And I'd like to thank Berthe. She doesn't eat much meat these days, but she's doing this for us, which is fantastic. All right, please guys try.
Okay.
Really good.
Yum.
I want to hear what your mother says.
واي كثير طيبين.
Hey, really? Honestly?
عم بقرقشوا كثير طيبين.
What does that mean?
Crunchy.
Ah, good.
Yeah.
So I fried these about an hour and a half ago. Yeah, so they are freshly fried. Does your mother make Sumbousik?
Yeah, she used to do them when we growing up and put them in the freezer. For
Beautiful. Yeah, I find.
This is really nice.
Thank you. So when I first made these the other day, I fried them up straight away, but I found that they don't fry up as well as when they're after they've been frozen. So my grandma would freeze them and then cook them on occasions, and so my mum did the exact same, and I do it, and I find that they fry better when you freeze them. Plus, there's so much work involved. It's good to make a large volume. So I made, I think it was 79. Mary and I made, and so I fried up around about 25 today, and so it's fantastic. Yeah, it's much easier.
Really good.
So, Rhea, what do you think?
I love them, they're so nice.
Good, fantastic. And so what we've got here, this is Berthe and Riad's idea. We've got 3 generations. So we've got the young, the middle, and not so middle. So, and I'm in that category, not so middle. And so guys, really, thank you very much. So please, there's some hummus here and some bread, if you want to try it with the hummus as well.
I love the pine nuts in them.
Yeah.
And like it's very thin
Very
and
thin,
crispy.
Yeah.
It's really tasty.
Not
Thank you
doughy.
so much.
Yeah, I don't like them doughy, and I do have issues with eating too much gluten. So I like to make them thin. I think personally, I think it just gives a nice compromise between the meat, the pine nuts, the onions, and the dough. But also, one thing I didn't mention is that I've been making this recipe for around about 30 years, and the only change I made in that 30 years is that 10 years ago I started using 7 spices. Prior to that, I did not use it. So I think it tastes good both ways, but it gives more taste with the 7 spices.
Yeah, definitely a deeper flavor.
can taste.
والعجينة كتير طيبة ورقيقة.
Thank you.
رقيقة مش سميكة رقيقة.
Yeah.
طيبة وبتقرش.
Thank you.
Crunchy. Okay.
So Riad was a little bit nervous, so I had to pull out the arroz just to calm him down, and he's now calmed down. You get it right?
I am. Thank
Yeah.
you. Great idea.
Cheers, guys. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Merry Christmas.
So you might remember these guys. We made the video with the Namuda. I had Berthe and Riad, who's also known as Ryan. They were the taste testers, and we had a lot of fun making that video. And Ryan just loves his Namuda, and I've got a surprise for you.
What is it?
I'm going to give it to you later.
What is it?
So if you're interested, I will put the ingredients in the descriptions below, and also I will put a link to the video for the Namuda if you would like to make that dessert. And also I'd like to thank Marion for helping me to make this, as she did quicken it up for me. So guys, you would have noticed when you're driving up that you would have seen a metal structure outside. Okay, that's a tiny home. So that tiny home is going to be brilliant. It's going to be a 12-part series over 1 year. The first video will be released hopefully in the first week of February. So it's going to be very good. Yeah, it's a big project. So guys, thank you very much for coming all this way to be taste testers for us. I really do appreciate it.
Thanks for having us, Musa.
And especially your mum. Thank you. Thank you very much. So that's the end of this video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you got something out of it. And if you have any comments at all, please leave them below and I will get back to you. And I'd ask you, please consider to subscribe, hit the like button and share this video, and there's many more to come. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Okay. What are you doing? Ah, man. Habibi.
Are you filming?
This way. Hey guys, thanks for finally coming. This is incredible. Then you say something. Have you seen the B movie?
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, he's Jerry Seinfeld.
Have you seen the new
The
one?
clown. No, I haven't seen the new one. Is there a new one?
Oh.
Really?
Ooh.